Well, first, Aaron, may I say I'm so grateful to you, for establishing this focal point for thinking about debate. I teach at Harvard Law School. I am a deep believer in Socratic forms of teaching, and the idea about law, that process is a part of it. So the issue of debate that we're here to consider, to me, is at the core of what I think about and teach as law. I start with the idea of what is law, which sounds like a big question until you say, well, suppose you approach it by asking what is not law. What's the other side of law? When you think of law, and then you think, all right, now there's a boundary there, and on the other side, what is it that you call that space out there? If you say chaos, I say you're starting from the wrong place. Chaos is the view from the sovereign. Peter Bohl introduces his China course with video I recommend to you about the view of the barbarians. But if you start from the side of the barbarians and ask, what is law? Then you're starting from a different place. You're starting from the self. You're starting from the idea that we have sovereignty over self. And we learn that when we're 2. And then we learn that there are limits on our sovereignty. And we come to terms with the sovereignty of rule under the authority of family and community and school and town and state and nation. But if you're starting out with the idea of learning about law, and you start from the idea of this self, well, students come to Harvard Law School, and I'd say they all come with hope and expectation that what they're going to find is a place of vibrant exchange, where you really dig into issues of justice. But the truth is that they separate into, I see them as 2 categories. There's the gunners, and then there's the observers. Some of the kids are just raring to go from the moment they get there. Hands in the air from the first day, ready to speak out on who knows what delicate subjects to who knows who's sitting in the classroom. But then there are others who understand that that's a dangerous environment out there. You feel totally anonymous when you first come into that environment. Say, who am I to be here? And who are these people? And am I going to speak out on some issue of race or gender or who knows in front of this audience? When they've all under the table got their little machines and Twitter back and forth? Now, did you all bring laptops? Good. Laptops closed now. Laptops closed. The idea of a classroom as a place where you're competing in an attention space, where it's a rhetorical environment, and discourse is like a game of poker. It's got opportunities for aggression. It's got opportunities for hanging back. Part of the game is, when do you play? I want to show you 3 tools. This first tool we call the live question tool. It's a tool that allows a group to focus on what they want to talk about. Now, for a lot of classes, that's not a problem. You talk about what I want to talk about. But if we were like a group coming together and we wanted to really get to know each other, we would start by, if we could, identifying what I call the elephant in the room, the subject that really does divide us most fundamentally, but is also most difficult to talk about. And so this is a tool that asks you to respond anonymously. You start anonymous. You enter a Twitter-length thought about, well, what do you think the elephant in this room is? Well, I don't really want to get hung up on the question tool. I just want to use it to introduce the idea of starting from anonymity. The idea that we are in an environment in which we are face-to-face, but we are also capable of linking in an environment of our construction, and of doing so anonymously, which from the point of view of a student who is considering participating in making a contribution into the dangerous environment of the classroom, anonymity is protective. I think we've become schooled to think of anonymity as dangerous, 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 and it is on the open net, there's no question. But in a classroom, or in a group like this, which has come together for the constructive purpose of getting to the issues, anonymity is, I've found, not a danger, just a shield. All right, the problem, though, with anonymity is that you cannot really conduct much of a discussion, because anonymous responds to anonymous and you don't know who's speaking. So if you would, let me take you to a different tool. This is Threads. This is a tool that functions in the following way. On the left-hand column, you may submit a new thread. So for example, wait a second, if I make a new thread, laptops, there it will be up in the left-hand column. If you click on laptops, over in the right-hand column, it will open a threaded discussion space. The Threads works. It is a wonderfully, easily accessible tool. You put up a topic, there'll be whom. And it works because you can call on students. You can offer a stimulus of some kind. And you can say to a group of students, now I want each one of you individually to formulate your response to what I've just said. And type it in a paragraph, and bang, hit it. And suddenly, everyone in the room has actually articulated a thought for themselves, and then discussion unfolds. It's pseudonymous, which again means that you don't have to be afraid that you're going to offend someone. You don't have to be afraid that you're going to say something stupid. You don't have to be afraid. All right, now, these tools are steps along the way. The third step, which Erikos is going to present to you in more detail, is Kialo. Kialo is a formal debating tool. This is very easygoing, very accessible. Kialo puts a structure on argument. It has the effect of separating argument from the underlying emotion. With difficult questions, you kind of splay them out in a logical form. But you look at them and you don't see the heat. The heat is not there. On the other hand, there are times when you want the heat, and there are times when you don't. So the bottom line that I'd like to leave you with is the sense that this environment that we're in now, and the fact that others are playing with it, it's like a flexible pedagogical space. And the idea that we have tools available to light it up with a debate, it seems like we have what we need. I mean, why is it that we're not? Here, Kialo. I've undertaken a series of these Kialo debates with my class this last spring. And there has been considerable satisfaction in the move towards professionalism, in the way in which argument is more formally articulated. So it's a tool that helps teach. And at the same time, it's teaching the very fundamental idea of Socratic exchange. So thank you very much.